Let's do this. Good morning, and welcome to the Unleashed Media and Talk Show with Daryl Arnold.
Oh, hell yes.
This is the show where we talk about everything.
What the hell?
Well, almost. From today's news, culture, entertainment, real life, real people, and the stories everybody's talking about. And no, we don't do it in some tiny glass bubble. We do it the only way we know how. Real and completely unleashed.
Fire the hole, fire the hole, fire the hole.
So lean in and let's go right now.
Give me a hell yeah. What?
All right, good morning, good morning. It is Monday, August 17th. My name is Daryl Arnold. You have tuned into the Unleashed, uninhibited, unapologetic show. We call it Unleashed Media and Talk with Daryl Arnold on a Monday morning, August 17th. And again, the year is 2026. Hello, wake up. Let's do this. And if you're not awake and you see this roaming in your live stream on Facebook, YouTube, and etc., go ahead and join in. Join the chat groups. You can text me at 601-918-8409. 601-918-8409, the first segment of the text message, sponsored by Dunkin' Donuts, right here in the lovely city of Pearl, Mississippi. Dunkin' Donuts. You can't go wrong with Dunkin'. Pearl rides, drives, wakes up, and moves forward on Dunkin' Donuts. So, thanks again for joining me on this Monday morning. No matter what time you listen to this podcast, during the day, the night, you can do all that on the podcast links, Apple, Spotify, Podbean, Amazon. We're now with iHeartRadio on another campaign. All that is Unleashed Media and Talk with Daryl Arnold. You can find this voice, this podcast at all times on all those platforms, or simply go to DarylArnold.us, DARRELL. A lot to talk about on this Monday morning. There's a lot going on in the country, a lot going on in Mississippi, a lot going on in the Southeast, a lot going on in Hawaii with massive damage from winds, etc., from a hurricane that the eye of the storm did not hit Hawaii. However, it did cause a lot of damage. Prayers to all the families involved and, of course, everyone else involved in that. So, hello. Let's get to some top stories that are shouting out at us this morning on this Monday morning as we arrive. First, want to give a big shout out to everybody that's already tuned in on the live streams. I see you. I see you. And next, how was your weekend? I know in Mississippi it was weather-breaking extreme heat temperatures, breaking records every day almost. The hottest day of the year so far, I believe, was yesterday on Sunday, August 16th. Of course, it was above 100. It's been above 100 so long now that it's really annoying, actually. It is kind of annoying, but we do know that it is August and it is Mississippi. These things happen. These things happen. So, some developing stories this morning in the national headlines, of course. Iran has reported a bounty on American troops. I keep seeing that come across my feed. So I'm like, really? These people over there are just downright evil, but it's true. It is actually true. The Middle East, Iran, remains to be a very top international story rolling in. And Fox and others are highlighting reports that the military in Iran has allegedly placed a $30,000 bounty on any U.S. troop member. And that's per troop member, ladies and gentlemen. So this is crazy. $30,000 bounty as the U.S. Iran deadline for that memorandum, that memo expires today, which Trump said he was done with it back in July, but it officially expires today. So, Fox also reported this morning that Israel seized a large arsenal connected to the Iranian regional network. So, what happens next? And no, that's not in the story. That's me talking. I don't know what happens next. I don't think any of us know exactly what happens next. There's another shipping flashpoint. Is that so? Well, the Houthi threats around the strait, of course, the now famous Strait of Hormuz, are raising fears that disruption there could create another strategic shipping crisis along with the whole Strait of Hormuz deal. It's nonstop, ladies and gentlemen. I don't know the answer. We have the war haters and we have the war hawkers. I don't think anybody actually likes war. If they do, they're just demented. However, the people over there in Iran, especially the terrorist groups that have taken over that country years ago, Hamas, Hezbollah, Al Qaeda, all of them, they're not going to change. They're never going to follow any such DEAL. Never. No deal. So if you're asking me what I think, I don't really know at this point. I just know this. It's never going to change unless we literally take out the terrorist and the people of Iran settle on true leadership that's looking out for their own people and interests. That's the only answer I have for you. There's a big socialist lawmaker shoplifting controversy going on, which is ridiculous. They quote New York, of course, New York socialist lawmaker is taking criticism after arguing. This is so ridiculous, but we have to talk about it. Arguing that shoplifting can result from a quote biological need. A biological need. Of course, the New York PD sergeant, we would hope they have some common sense, and apparently this one does. Push back on that argument. Now, we're going to, along in the show here this morning, we're going to discuss that whole quote, shoplifting should be okay deal with some audio bites, some sound bites, and clips. Retarded, in my opinion. Ridiculous. I always find it not funny because nothing's funny in this, but I do find it ironic that every single time in history, which is actually true, one of the big headlines I see everywhere today is the economy could decide the midterm elections. Really? It always does. It always has. And these opinion polls from whoever, from Fox to CNN to ones you've never heard of, they're on the gap. They ask these questions to people, and who actually has ever had anyone from any of these organizations ask you a question? I have not. I don't think I even know anybody that has. But it's the gap between positive national economic stats and what voters personally experience. Yes, it is. I 100% agree with that part. Through, quote, grocery store bills, gasoline, housing, mortgage cost, arguing that the personal, with the P, economy could dominate the 2026 elections. Well, I don't know if it could dominate it, but it is always a major part of any and every election, Republican, Democrat, and or independent. Of course it is. It's they may not ever tell you this. Well, some do, but the kitchen table and your personal finances and your personal bills and the personal economy that you particularly live in. Yes, it's always going to be the number one, most one. That's never changed in history. They start blowing it up right before any midterm election. Of course they do. They do. Now, I will argue, as I have, do keep up with all this stuff every day, that the discussion of fallen violent crime numbers under the Trump administration, while contrasting the administration's law and order message with the socialists and the proposals involving policies and prisons, is very important too. But I will say this: normal day to day people, they don't look at all that. They just don't. Even though our numbers are at a all time low for crime and etc., they do not pay any attention to that. Most people don't. Let's just be honest. They're working hard. They have children, grandchildren, lives, families, businesses, work, overload work, so on, school, and etc. And yes, some adults are in school too. So, of course, they don't notice it like someone like myself. But it's very important that you think back in your head and you see where this country's come in the last couple of years with Trump on the crime and the border and the actual investment in our country instead of all the other darn countries. The investment in true money, the investment in true everything, businesses, looking out for small businesses instead of crushing small businesses under this fake socialist commie program that they got working on there not right now. Right now, the Obama, Biden, Clinton 5.0. I call it 5.0 because it's so socialist, so communist now that it's, 5 or 6 steps ahead of the quote Clinton era, Obama era, Joe Biden, and all the rest. Just is. It's way ahead, y'all. They are literally on 10. They're on 10 with all this right now. Good morning to Stephen SRS. Good morning, Mel. Good morning, Cindy. Good morning, Dennis. Good morning, Michael. Good morning, Stephen. Anyway, we have a lot going on, a lot of people watching live and listening live. I appreciate it as always. We can get to your questions. Throw them up in the chat comments and or 601-918-8409. 601-918-8409. Hope your weekend was fantastic again. My weekend coming up this coming weekend with the August 22nd being Saturday and August 21st. We'll do it twice. Going to be a big weekend, August 21st. The Dirt Deacons are at Cameron's Garage. One of my all-time favorites. Grew up with these guys. Amazing band. That's August 21. And it's also Melanie Dedman's birthday, August 21. And then, of course, August 22nd, my birthday party, officially the annual birthday party that I do every year. This year it is Thomas Kane, ladies and gentlemen. This guy is blowing up, and I don't mean physically. No, he's really unbelievable, the band, Thomas Kane. They also constantly tour. They're bringing in the tour bus for Daryl's big birthday party this coming Saturday, August 22nd. Be there, Cameron's Garage at Cypress Point. And yes, you're all invited, every single one, even the naysayers. Come on out. Come on down, as Bob Barker and Johnny used to say. Come on down. So, back to the pressing stories we were just talking about. The old W, I don't know what the W's for anymore. I'm not sure they do, rather. The WNBA may be about to face the ultimate test of its own very rules, RULES. With former NBA players like Ines Kanter, Freedom, and Royce White declaring themselves women. Now, they're doing that to make a point. So they're not really trans people, but they're calling these jokesters out in this organization called the Women's National Basketball Association, the WNBA. They're calling them out. Clay Travis over at Outkick, floating an all transgender WNBA team. David DeRosso argues that the league is being forced to live by the standard that it did create. And they're about to find out their rule was a conviction. I totally agree with this guy. I totally 100% agree with him because they got themselves into it.
Saul Alinsky wrote that the playbook for the left has run for the past 60 years. Rule number 4, make the enemy live up to their own book of rules. Nobody can survive a full audit of their own stated principles, so you force the audit. The WNBA and its players have said repeatedly and publicly that trans inclusion isn't up for debate, no exceptions, no asterisks. That's the book. Now a handful of male athletes are doing exactly what Rule 4 describes, not breaking the rule, reading it back verbatim. If the standard is real, it applies to them too. If it's not, someone has to explain why the book only opens one way. Former NBA players Enes Kanter, Freedom, and Royce White are declaring themselves women and trying out for the WNBA. Meanwhile, Clay Travis of Outkick is publicly considering starting an all-transgender WNBA team called the Nashville Bulls. Travis also said he'd bet $10 million for a head-to-head basketball game between defending WNBA champions and a boys' high school state. The punch, there isn't a loophole. It's the oldest radical tactic in the book, being used ironically on the very institutions that built their politics on it. The takeaway, Alinsky didn't say break the rules. He said hold them up to it. That's precisely what's happening here.
Yeah, good. Hold them to that. I agree. Hold them to that. If they're going to say that a freaking male can play with females and be in the damn dressing room with them with their corny, retarded insane psychopath rules, then guess what? Checkmate. Checkmate, ladies and gentlemen. Checkmate. It's unbelievable that we're talking about this because it's unbelievable this happens in the country we live in. Finally, some real men, though. I will see what happens in the WNBA. These are not the little fake men. They're just men who say, hey, I'm going to be a woman now. So guess what? With their rules, they should call them out with their own rules. And good for them. Good for them. And like the gentleman said on the sound clip, audio clip, that is a Saul Lewinsky move, a socialist move. Still part of woke 1.0, which is getting their butts kicked now. Because 1.0 is so 2020, they say. They being AOC and the kooks. Oh, that's so 2020. Yeah, they're on like woke maximum now. Okay, there's no more woke 1.0. Just unfortunately, they went from woke 1.0, which was loony, to psychopath now. That's what happened. President Trump just said this morning that Israel should not be launching any attacks in Gaza because Hamas has agreed to, quote, lay down their weapons. He said that the country of Israel, should not be striking in Gaza because he says Hamas has agreed to lay down their weapons after that meeting yesterday in Egypt between senior Hamas leadership and Jared Kushner, along with the American mediators on the ground over there. I don't know. I really don't know because you can't trust any of them. I mean, you just can't. You cannot trust these fools. And that's that. Just true. Jonathan Turley says this election is shaping up to be arguably the most, now I know we've said this before, the most important midterm election in history as we fight for the identity of this republic. Now, I do believe that. So what am I saying to you? I'm saying with all your power and might to get as many people that you know that you're connected with and help people that you're not even connected with to get out and vote in the midterms, no matter where you live. We have come face to face, Turley said, with Benjamin Franklin's warning that this is a republic, but only if we can keep it. Let that sink in. This is a republic, but only if we can keep it, ladies and gentlemen. Of course, those are words from the great Jonathan Turley, not mine. Those are quotes, but they're great quotes on this Monday morning. These are just posted an hour ago. Great, of course, always quotes from Jonathan Turley, jonathanturley.org.org. But yes, communism, socialism, elitism, liberalism, woke, the secret giant. It's called communism. They thought they could poison this country forever, and they still think that. So don't take your foot off the pedal because they obviously think that. They did it to their own party, the Democrat Party. They hijacked them with communists, socialists, radicals, who hate everything this nation stands for, period. That's it. Argue with me, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. What used to get you banned, fired, destroyed is now shouted from the rooftops. Russiagate was a hoax. COVID was man-made. Masks and vaccines were a scam. January 6th was a setup. 2020 was stolen. The Overton window isn't just shifting, it's shattering. It's no longer a slow process, ladies and gentlemen. Get on board. The tipping point is not near, but here. The critical mass is not mass, M-A-S-S. The critical mass is not coming, it's here. Nothing's going to stop us, so you have to stand up for it. America's waking up. And she, he, and just America itself is pissed. And yes, they should be. All of us. She or he, doesn't matter. So today, y'all, August 17th, mid-hot, and I do mean extra H-O-T in Mississippi. I want to thank everybody for tuning in. Our numbers are just really, really going up. It's not because of me. This show's not even because of me. I'm not trying to impress anyone out there, but I am trying to impress upon you how very important it is right now in this country to help all of us hold on to this great constitutional republic that we live in. That so many people died for this. So many people lost their life so we could hold on to this thing called freedom. To hold on to this thing called freedom. Okay? Because that's what it is, ladies and gentlemen. That's exactly what it is. And we got to hold on to it, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Daryl Arnold, top of the hour, 104.3 on the radio. The podcast is Unleash Media and Talk with Daryl Arnold. DarylArnold.us.
Every program in the Next ecosystem is designed to meet people where they are and take them where they want to go, in technology and in life. Mississippi Coding Academies is a nonprofit that bridges the digital divide, delivering accessible, affordable, and life-changing technology education across the globe. Funded by grants and donations that are truly making an impact at home and abroad. Learn coding, cybersecurity, and so much more with locations around the state of Mississippi. Go to mscoding.org today and go to your next level.
If you or a loved one need reliable medical equipment, trust a name Mississippi has depended on for over 20 years. Mobility Medical, located right in Flowood, is your local family-owned source for mobility and home healthcare solutions. From power wheelchairs and scooters to lift chairs that help you relax in comfort, they've got everything you need to stay independent and live better every day. Need help at home? Mobility Medical offers hospital beds, tables, and essential supplies, and more. What sets them apart? It's their personalized service. Their experienced team works one-on-one with you to find the right equipment. Serving all of Mississippi and beyond with in-store support and delivery options available. Mobility Medical, helping you move better, live better, and stay independent. Visit them today in Flowood or call to learn more.
Power 104.3 FM.
You are without doubt the worst pirate I've ever heard of.
But you have heard of me.
The Pirate.
Welcome back to the Unleashed Media and Talk Show with Daryl Arnold. And yes, he's still unapologetic.
All right, y'all. It is the top of the hour, 7 a.m. Monday, August 17th, 2026. And again, my name is Daryl Arnold. Thank y'all so much for joining me on this Monday morning, bright and early. But the great thing is you can listen back or watch back on YouTube at Unleashed Media and Talk with Daryl Arnold, Facebook at Daryl Arnold MS, and also on Facebook, Unleashed Media and Talk with Daryl Arnold. And of course, all the podcast platforms and iHeartRadio at Unleashed Media and Talk with Daryl Arnold. So, what's up, ladies and gentlemen? It is a hot, wicked hot week in Mississippi in the middle of August. Cannot believe that. My birthday's this coming August 22nd, this coming Saturday. Hope to see all of you there because guess what? You're all invited. You're all invited. Cypress Point Resort at Cameron's Garage. Gonna be a blast. Got some birthdays, some weddings to celebrate on my birthday, all that good stuff. Big weekend, August 21st on Friday night, the Dirt Deacons at the Garage. And on Saturday night, Thomas Kane music. So what kind of weekend is that? It is a rock star weekend, ladies and gentlemen. A rock star weekend, period. Anyway, so good. Good news. The Michigan over there. Attorney General Dana Nessel files felony election charges against, quote, non-citizens, directly exposing also Secretary of State Jocelyn Benson's sworn claims that illegal voting never occurs. BS. Well, I guess she's learning the hard way. You know, any fool that says that that illegal voting never occurs, you're an idiot. You're a fool. Fool. I mean,
multiple non-citizens now charged for voting in elections. The thing they say never happens, of course, has happened again, has been happening for a long time, and now felony charges are coming down in court. We've got the state of Michigan bringing the cases here, and this is a curious one because Michigan has been filled with, in our opinion, a bunch of fraudsters. People like Jocelyn Benson, the Secretary of State, Dana Nessel, who is the Attorney General, Big Gretch Rona, of course, the Whitmer kidnapping hoax, all been in leadership positions in this state for quite some time. And now we've got 5 non-citizens who got hit with multiple criminal complaints and felonies all filed in the state of Michigan. And so we'll take a look at each of these charging documents. You can see we've got a slew of them queued up here.
A slew of them, ladies and gentlemen, because of course it happens. And they allow it to happen because of the voter ID laws. That's why we've been preaching, screaming to the rooftops about the Save America Act, which never got passed. And the senators went home for this big vacation that the United States of America citizens paid for. Another paid for break. Unreal, but true. Unreal, but true. Somebody send me a thanks for that. I appreciate it. Mr. Jason, I'll leave that alone on the last name. A bombshell commie alert. Michigan Senate candidate Abdul El Sayed just got busted big time admitting he wants, quote, full-blown communism. He said it himself. I want to go further. I want public ownership. Ownership, ladies and gentlemen, ownership. What do you think that means? And, quote, public control. What does that mean? He also said, I am completely ready to raise middle class taxes. Of course you are. For health care. We'd be paying for health care in a different way, he said. This radical, being him, exposed himself on camera. The mask is off. Share it everywhere. Yeah, he's a fool. He is a fool.
Dollars could see their taxes go up. I just want to be very clear. Is that a yes?
I'm saying that we'd be paying for healthcare in a different way.
Are you in favor of public ownership models like the one Bernie introduced?
So I want to actually take it a step further.
Okay.
I agree that we need public ownership, but I also agree that we need some system of public control.
Do police really need to use guns? Do we need as much of a police force?
Ridiculous. You hear me? Completely insane. And listen, they're already talking about AOC, and I'm not kidding with you. Don't laugh. Be prepared. We'll be on the 2028 ticket for President of the United States. AOC, one of the dumbest people I've ever listened to. Let that sink in. You don't think that this El Sayed is, completely smashing his way in to society? Of course he is. This is what they're doing. It's not going to stop, y'all. People should do some freaking research on communism. Back when the Berlin Wall came down, maybe. East Germany and Germans could not wait to cross the border and get away from communism. Do some research before y'all start electing these communists. No matter what state you're in, even right here in Mississippi. And by the way, we don't care how much, well, we care because unfortunately young people are listening, but it doesn't matter how much he sugarcoats this. Communism never changes. It's one path to destruction. One path for you to live in pure hell. You know? It just, that's what it is. Again, we always say, wake up, America, because don't fall asleep on these matters. They're that important. They're that important. President Trump told Trey Yinks this morning, and I do quote, to Iran, you should put up the white flag of surrender. I have no time on my schedule. Trump added, I'm not in a hurry. The midterms have nothing to do with my thinking. The president confirmed that there is a, quote, direct back channel with IRGC officials. They're good poker players, but they're being axed, literally, as we speak. So regardless, Israeli elections, the president did not issue an endorsement for any candidate, period. Not over there at all. So we have a problem in this country, and it's not just the left. It's not the far left. It's the far right, who are basically following the far left's insanity. That's what they're doing, which has split the party all up, which is really bad. I want to know who's paying these fools, okay? And if nobody's paying them, I want to know why. Is it because Trump called you a bad name and you're a crybaby? I mean, what is it? What is it? I mean, really? Will Kane over on Fox News. He does his show straight up out of Texas. He breaks down the, quote, Cato Institute and estimates that it could be this right here is outstandingly insane. Outstandingly insane. He estimates it could be a massive 200 plus. Now listen, trillion with a T, y'all, not billion. A $200 trillion spending wish list tied to the proposals, including things like universal health care, reparations, federal guarantees, housing programs. His argument, simple. The actual math, y'all. Who forgot about it? The Nimrods in the news, the far left wing nuts. They forgot that math matters. M-A-T-H. Math matters. I'm going to play about a 2 or 3 minute clip here. You decide for yourself if America can afford this. Make your own decisions.
You get to $200 trillion over 10 years. The number is absolutely staggering, and it breaks down into categories. It breaks down into promises on the DSA's wish list. Let's start with universal health care. Over a 10-year period, that's estimated to cost as much as $75 trillion. But we don't stop there. There's been talk of reparations. Add another $28 trillion to the wish list. How about a federal jobs guarantee? That's $60 trillion, potentially at the high end over 10 years. Now, if you add this all up, including housing for all, which is another $17 trillion, then you get to a high estimate of $211 trillion over 10 years. Bringing up the question again, who pays? Now, the DSA, it has an answer. The rich, big corporations. So let's look at reality. This lays out the high end and the low end estimates of the DSA's wish list costs. Now, if you taxed over a 10-year period all corporate profits, so you zeroed out corporate profits over a 10-year period, you'd bring in about $35 trillion. If you taxed the wealthiest in America at a rate of 40%, you'd bring in another $500 billion. If you confiscated all of their wealth, well, you bring in about $6.6 trillion. But I want to go even further because anybody on the left or a member of the DSA be saying, I don't want to stop at 40%. So let's go further. What if you did what America did in the mid-1950s and 60s, and you implemented a tax rate of over 90%? We would still then only bring in about $2 trillion over 10 years. So what the DSA's wish list, its empty promises run into, is the hard, cold reality of math. You add all that together and you come nowhere near. Forget the high estimate of $200 trillion, but the low estimate of $71 trillion. So where do you go for the money? They go where they always end up going for the money, to you.
The American people, that's where they go. That's where they go. So forget the low end and the high end. The spending wish list that the Socialist Communist DSA has can be totally annihilated with simple math. M-A-T-H. All you have to do is have a calculator. But what they're betting on is people believing their Salowinski, their communists, socialists, Karl Marx, Marxist speeches, talks, and quite frankly, lies. They're relying on that. And not to mention their 1,000% TDS, Trump derangement syndrome. That's it. Sandy sent me a text message. Good morning, Sandy. Checked in from Alabama. If any of this happens, I'm going to stop paying taxes. I will work for cash. I will support those who live with me. Healthcare is ruined. Education's ruined. Housing from the government is ruining. And the Dems are going to add just more spending. Well, you are actually correct, Sandy. And good morning. Thanks for texting on 601-918-8409. Brought to you by Cypress Point Resort in this segment, cypresspointms.com, at Cypress Point MS on Facebook. But garbage. That's what their plan is. It's garbage. It's takeover. It's communism at its best. It's big government. They make all the money. You're just a peon. You're just a remote peon in their, not even in their world, in their mind. Okay? You're beneath them. You're below them. Who wants to live like that? Not me. Not me. So a mother and daughter, they paid $1,000. Now, I would never do anything that stupid, but they did, and that's okay. It's their money. They paid $1,000 for a ticket to attend the Indiana the Indiana Fever versus the Atlanta Dream game at State Farm Arena, specifically to see Sophie Cunningham, a woman they respect, a woman they admire for taking a clear stance against biological men in women's sports. They wore XX shirts and the other one wore XY shirts. The back of the daughter's shirt simply had read, quote, for the girls, end quote, for the girls. And do you want to know what happened? You probably already do, which is a sad country we live in. The arena staff at State Farm Arena gave them two options: cover the shirts or leave, Leave. Now, that is complete BS to me. They handed shirts to them to put over them. I mean, really? Good God. Earlier in the game, a woman wearing a Protect Trans Rights shirt was prominently featured on the Jumbotron, of course. After receiving that stadium spotlight, eventually she was told to cover her shirt. But look, a women's league, let me rephrase that or say it louder for the people in the back. A women's league run by women decided that a shirt saying "for the girls" was too offensive. What? Where are we? And too controversial to wear? Meanwhile, State Farm Arena will put a, quote, pro trans message on the big screen, but won't allow a shirt that basically states a biological truth. This is where we are. It's where we are. The WNBA and stadiums like State Farm Arena continue to be a national embarrassment to me. They really do. A national embarrassment. Crazy enough.
And we were made to cover up our XXXY shirts at this game.
Wait, are you serious?
Yes, they gave us shirts. They gave us T-shirts during overtime and told us we had to leave.
And this says for the girls.
Or cover our shirts. This just happened.
Where were you sitting?
Floor
4-3 row
C.
Yeah.
Third row of floor 3.
And how much were your seats?
$1,000 each around. Yeah, and we did nothing. Like we were just sitting there. I didn't make signs. I wanted to make signs, but I didn't. I did nothing.
Now,
So sad, ladies and gentlemen. This is happening in America at a women's National Basketball Association game. So I got nothing. I mean, I got a lot, but this is what's happening in our country. We'll be right back.
Don't forget to check out Cypress Point Resort. Memories are made at Cypress Point. Close to home, yet it feels miles away. At Cypress Point, you can truly get away from it all. You can step back to a simpler time, yet enjoy all the amenities of today. Cameron's Garage is a sports bar and music venue. There's a lunch buffet every day inside Cypress Point. They also have a steakhouse and the Tavern. The Tavern is a quaint little place with live music Wednesday through Saturday. And of course, you've got the Safari Park and Petting Zoo. Don't forget about all the event halls, including the Wedding Chapel and so much more. That's Cypress Point Resort, located at 874 Hollybush Road, Brandon, Mississippi. Contact them at 601-829-1101 or at cypresspointms.com.
You wanted to see me?
Yes, please, have a seat. So here's the thing. When this company brought you on, we took a chance on you. You didn't have that 4-year college degree we typically look for.
Right.
But we gave you a shot anyway. And since then, you've worked incredibly hard and given it your all.
Thanks.
You've been an important asset to the team, but I don't think you can be an intern here anymore. We want to hire you.
You're serious?
Absolutely.
Find your next great employee. Introduce yourself to the Grads of Life. Who are they? Talent worth knowing about. Young adults of unique determination and experience. An ideal fit for your company in an entry-level position, internship, or even mentorship. They might not have every qualification you typically look for, but they're exactly who your company needs.
I won't let you down.
I know.
Don't miss out on a resource many innovative companies have already discovered. Go to gradsoflife.org to learn how to find, cultivate, and train this great pool of untapped talent. Brought to you by the Ad Council and gradsoflife.org.
Support for these programs comes from Electrical Solutions and Services in Pearl, Mississippi, providing licensed electrical contracting services throughout Mississippi for commercial, industrial, and residential projects. Also installations, system upgrades, troubleshooting, and emergency electrical repairs. As certified installers for Tesla, charging systems, and a certified dealer for Generac backup power solutions, their team delivers safe, code-compliant workmanship with a commitment to precision and integrity. They are veteran-owned. Their phone number is 769-572-7597.
Welcome back to the Unleashed Media and Talk Show with Daryl Arnold. And yes, he's still unapologetic.
All right, welcome back. It is 7:24 in the morning. My name is Daryl Arnold. It is August 17th, and it is 2026. Can't believe it's already 2026, but yes, it is. It'll be 27 shortly. Crazy. It's a Monday morning. We're just talking about the ridiculous stuff going on in the WNBA. I don't know, in my opinion, if they should be allowed to be called the WNBA anymore if they're going to do this nonsense. You know, I don't know. You tell me. 601-918-8409. Let's see, we got a couple from our brilliant friend, David Hall. One of the tools, plural, TOOLS, that Karl Marx used, just go back and listen to interviews from the past from the tapes when he was defecting back in the 80s to the Marxists. We'll tell a lie out loud long enough. You know, and Obama said the same thing. If you tell a lie out loud long enough, eventually the populace begins to believe you. And then they all begin to believe you. If they don't care, that's a lie. They just keep telling it until masses believe it. That's the playbook of these idiots. It keeps going on and on and on. Eventually, a lot of people will come to accept it just because they've heard it long enough. Just like a song on the radio over and over and over. May not love it in the beginning, but eventually it just keeps on and on and on. That hook keeps flying through your head. You're wore down listening to it, just like you're wore down of the propaganda that they're pushing with the Marxist movement. Correct. Thanks for the text, David. But it's so true. Sounds like the reality of State Farm, he said, is to boycott it. Yeah, probably true. That's what happens when big businesses make stupidity, Marxist mistakes. Boycott them. Hit them where it hurts. Ask Budweiser. And quite frankly, ask a lot of people that started their nonsense. And say it out loud. Say it out loud. Make the rubber hit the road. Speaking of rubber hitting the road, I got a soundbite I wanted to play for y'all about that exact same thing. About delusional Democrats, delusional radical Islam Democrats. Okay. When asked if they would rather be around a, quote, Trump supporter, this is that, of course, TDS to the max, or a radical Islamist, a whole lot of them chose the radical Islamists. This is what you call indoctrination, propaganda rammed down their throat until they actually start believing some of it. This isn't tolerance. This is a death cult mindset, ladies and gentlemen. And I said it. That hates America more than it fears actual terrorists. And I'm not saying they're all like that, but there is a lot, sadly. Sadly.
More in common with a Trump supporter or a radical Islamist?
Radical Islamist.
You saw someone wearing one of those red hats chanting "Make America Great Again," or you saw someone shouting "Allahu Akbar" running down the breezeway here. Who would you feel more safe with?
The one shouting Allahu Akbar. Yeah.
You would support the radical Islamists.
Yeah.
What is it about Trump supporters that you don't think you'd get along with them so well?
I'm gay.
But you would get along with the radical Islamists?
Yes.
And you're gay?
Yes.
In solidarity with radical Islamists, would you look at the camera and say in solidarity, Allahu Akbar?
Allahu Akbar.
And would you say "Make America Great Again" in solidarity with the Trump supporters?
No.
What is a bigger threat to America today, radical Islam or Trump supporters?
Trump supporters.
I'll say Trump.
Trump supporters in MAGA.
Yeah.
I would say Trump supporters in MAGA.
I would have to go with the Trump supporters.
Trump supporters, MAGA.
Trump supporters in MAGA.
I'd say MAGA. But we should be able to allow people to be who they are.
Yeah. Even if they're a radical Islamist.
Yes. Yeah. There's no right to judge them.
So if someone came running down the street, Allahu Akbar, or if there was someone on the opposite side saying, "Make America Great Again," got my red hat on, which side would you run to?
I don't know.
As Christians, and we're following Christ, do you think it's important to call out radical Islam?
No, because it's a freedom of religion.
Yeah, it's a freedom of religion.
How many terrorist attacks did Trump supporters engage in last week?
So many.
Just guess.
Thousands.
If you're a radical Islamist watching this right now, we pray for your conversion.
Wow. That's happening in America, you guys. Delusional Democrats. And it is a delusion. It is radical. It is insane. Okay? It's completely, we could joke around with it as some people do. I'm not joking. Okay? Let's get that straight. I'm not joking. This is very serious. Gives a whole new meaning to cognitive impairment. Someone text me. Yeah, pretty much. You're right. But the seriousness of it is very serious also. Very. So learn how to be tough as nails instead of frail, please. Even if you don't agree with me, please learn that part. This guy right here, this guy gives the best answer to this commie puke punk who thinks everything over 2 million anyone makes should be taxed at 70%.
70% of my income above 2 million in tax? Yes. Do you think your next dollar should be taxed at 70%? Okay, so if that's the deal, you know what I would do? Once my income got to 2 million, I would stop working for the year. I would furlough my employees and say, you know what? I've made my limit. I'm not going to work for 30 cents on the dollar. I'm playing golf. I'm going fishing. I'll see you next February. How about that? So
is your husband?
How about that? Yeah. These people are so foolish. They're just foolish. There's no plan that will work under a communist regime, whether that be in America or any other country. None. That's the absolute truth. There's no doubt. None. Zero doubt. Never happened in history. Never worked, never will, never has. Get it out of your mind. Just insane. Just insane. There was some recovered footage, by the way, of a 2004. I know a lot of y'all have seen this online or whatever. ABC segment, one of the shows on ABC showing Kamala Harris actively working with the Santa Barbara police trying to, quote, destroy Michael Jackson and his life and send him to jail. Michael Jackson was another victim of, quote, Kamala Harris, who was later vindicated on all charges that she had against him. While at the same time, she was Montel Williams' side piece. That chick was such a loser. We dodged a bullet, ladies and gentlemen. Big time. We did. We dodged another bullet. And one thing about dodging bullets, we have got to dodge the Hassan Piker who's declaring war on not just us or anybody that supports common sense. He also now has declared war on the moderate Democrats, confirming he's fully aligned with the, quote, progressive commie faction. He said any Democrat bringing him onto the campaign trail is choosing radicals or I'm not going. Good. You're a complete loser anyway. Anyone that follows you there's something not right about them mentally. That's just my opinion, period. Like it or not like it, it is my opinion. David Hall texted and said, after listening to that segment with all those young people, as stupid as they are, it makes me wonder if the comment is actually late. I don't know. I really don't know. But the hatred for Trump is real. Always has been. And it's gotten worse and worse because of propaganda. And, you know, a lot of this propaganda is paid for from other countries, by the way. Don't forget that, please. A lot of people tend to forget that. They do. So I wanted to let you guys hear this, but they rewrote the story of the West from heroism to sin, then protected the one figure who fails their own test. And you're going, what in the hell are you talking about right now? Well, this founding fathers, Winston Churchill, Enlightenment thinkers, all condemned for a living in their time. Karl Marx, repeatedly saying and doing the same thing that we see now. And there's a point to this. There's a very big point to all this.
And for this is they're guilty of being dead white men. The cardinal sins of not just being white and male, but also dead, it appears, because, of course, none of the critics think that's going to happen to them. But this sort of derisive, these are just dead white men. Well, they're dead white men who brought you everything you've got, so you could have a bit of damn gratitude to start with. But put that aside for a moment. All these figures have been attacked in exactly the same way. Winston Churchill held Victorian attitudes about certain subjects. Surprise, surprise. He was born in Victorian England.
Right.
You know? Yeah. Maybe should have had progressive 2020s attitudes about a range of things in gay marriage and all that. But, amazingly enough, he didn't. So the same thing is done against Jefferson. Same thing is done against Lincoln. Same thing is done against all the philosophers of the Enlightenment, who every single one of them has now been torn down, actually literally in a number of their cases. Voltaire's statues pulled down in Paris. David Hume's name taken off the buildings named after him in Scotland. These people who brought us the ideas of reason and rationalism now stand condemned all for the same things. They lived at a time when slavery went on. They lived at a time when colonialism went on. And the best for the people who come after them is they said something racist once. These are the three tools used against everyone in our past. And I say at one point in the war in the West, okay, let's look at who this is not done to. Let's look at the figures that they skip over.
Yep.
So I had great joy.
Yeah, let's take a look at the ones that they skip over when they are writing their woke history and the young people are listening. Okay? It's very important that you read the correct history, that you do the correct research, ladies and gentlemen. It really is. With all of this, it doesn't matter who we're talking about. We could be talking about Trump. We could be talking about Barack Hussein, Barry Obama, or we could be talking about Abraham Lincoln. Get the right research and history from the right. Please get it from the right sources. It's out of control now with social media. It's out of control now with everything. It just is. And that's not anything more than a fact. Not anything more than a fact. Kevin McCarthy dropped a stark woke warning over the weekend. A lot of people are dropping this warning. If you think woke one was crazy, which AOC and them are saying, oh, that's in the past now. That's so 2020. That's just totally so 2020. But if you think woke one was crazy, I promise you woke two from the Democrat Socialists is even crazier. And I believe him. I believe Kevin. And you should believe Kevin, because this is where we are in the country now.
And I'll promise the American public this. If you think woke one was crazy, I'll promise you woke two, the Democrat Socialist, is even crazier. Now there is no Thanksgiving. Now there is no president. There is no Senate. They decide what goes forward. If the one was crazy, this is on steroids, number 2 and 3 of what they want to go for. And that's why people, especially who came out in 24, you've got to come out to the election again, because they're hoping you'll accept the apology, and they'll even do it crazier.
So how do you hold them accountable from what happened? And do you fear that they'll start, if they get back in power again, start with the green mania, come back with the political correctness, start hating America publicly again, start pushing back against the national anthem? Are you worried that if the power returns, so does the agenda?
I'm not worried. I take them at their word. Just look what Hakeem Jeffries said this week. He said when Democrats get back in power, the first thing they're going to do is change the Supreme Court. They want to go against the Constitution. They want to change the Supreme Court that had to be confirmed to go in, because they believe they want to be able to go even woker and be able to pass so much more and be upheld in the Supreme Court, even if it's going against the Constitution.
Wow. This is where we are, ladies and gentlemen, on Monday, August 17th, 2026. Remember it. Remember it, because that's what they want. That's what they want if you vote for these clowns, or if you don't vote at all, which is a vote for those clowns. Because their people will show up. They will show up. So if you're an independent conservative, you better show up. If you're an independent Republican, you better show up. If you're a populist conservative, show up. If you're a straight up Republican, show up. Whatever it is, just show up. We'll be right back.
Every program in the Next ecosystem is designed to meet people where they are and take them where they want to go, in technology and in life. Mississippi Coding Academies is a nonprofit that bridges the digital divide, delivering accessible, affordable, and life-changing technology education across the globe. Funded by grants and donations that are truly making an impact at home and abroad. Learn coding, cybersecurity, and so much more with locations around the state of Mississippi. Go to mscoding.org today and go to your next level.
Don't forget to check out Cypress Point Resort. Memories are made at Cypress Point. Close to home, yet it feels miles away. At Cypress Point, you can truly get away from it all. You can step back to a simpler time, yet enjoy all the amenities of today. Cameron's Garage is a sports bar and music venue. There's a lunch buffet every day inside Cypress Point. They also have a steakhouse and the Tavern. The Tavern is a quaint little place with live music Wednesday through Saturday. And of course, you've got the Safari Park and Petting Zoo. Don't forget about all the event halls, including the Wedding Chapel and so much more. That's Cypress Point Resort, located at 874 Hollybush Road, Brandon, Mississippi. Contact them at 601-829-1101 or at cypresspointms.com.
Support for these programs comes from Electrical Solutions and Services in Pearl, Mississippi, providing licensed electrical contracting services throughout Mississippi for commercial, industrial, and residential projects. Also installations, system upgrades, troubleshooting, and emergency electrical repairs. As certified installers for Tesla, charging systems, and a certified dealer for Generac backup power solutions, their team delivers safe, code-compliant workmanship with a commitment to precision and integrity. They are veteran-owned. Their phone number is 769-572-7597.
Welcome back to the Unleashed Media and Talk Show with Daryl Arnold. And yes, he's still unapologetic.
Yeah. Monday, August 17th. My name is Daryl Arnold. You've tuned into the Unleashed Media and Talk Show with Daryl Arnold, and that's an and sign, not A&D. Unleashed Media and Talk with Daryl Arnold, Darrell. All podcasts are available after the show. You can check those out at Apple, Spotify, Podbean, Amazon, Google Play, all of them. And then, of course, iHeartRadio. Check that out as well. Thank y'all for joining me this morning on this another extreme heat day. Like, what is it, like 20 in a row, 30 in a row? It seems like 50 in a row. I know it's really not, but that is, in fact, what it seems like. I just wish it would go away, right? Yeah, me too. I wish it would go away. Please go away. Please stop it. We're talking about what we're always talking about here. Saving this damn country. Keeping this country safe, secure, abiding by the Constitution of our state and our country, abiding by our Bill of Rights, and of course, our personal freedom of speech, right to bear arms. There's a lot of crazy stuff going on right now in the gun world. I'm not well versed on that. I will not talk about it, but we will have a guest on soon. A guest on real soon to discuss all that. We will. So if you want to defeat the socialist, according to some people, Jeremy Boring is one of them. If you want to defeat the socialists, you must refuse to grant their premise that more government is the answer. Because the conservatives have always thought that less government is the best answer. This is from Jeremy over the weekend.
Strange phenomenon that I did not see coming is that we'd wake up to an American right-wing movement that essentially promulgates a left-wing economic theory. It's easy to say that the reason that the Democratic Socialists are having such a run right now in this current slate of elections is because Republicans don't have any ideas, aren't offering any hope for the affordability crisis, and the socialists are offering a program for how to address the affordability crisis. But I would push back on that. I actually think that the reason that Democratic Socialists are finding so much purchase with their message right now is because we're on the right largely affirming their message. We're also saying that the reason you're struggling right now is because of forces outside of your control. That the reason that you're struggling right now does require a government intervention in order to fix it. And this is one of the things that I think, whatever we want to call them, woke right or whatever language we want to assign to this, one of the places where they're setting up their own ultimate defeat is that they're falling into the trap of believing that if you're the second furthest left, you have the winning populist left-wing economic message. You don't. You've only granted a premise that you can't actually compete with. If we agree that only government intervention is going to bring down the price of burritos, we're going to get owned by the Democratic Socialists every time. The only winning argument is the truth. And the truth is that all the ways that you deal with the affordability crisis are about getting government out of the way of the kinds of market innovations that need to take place in order to bring prices down. And the only way that we're going to win long-term as a country is by reminding people that they have agency and that they can do something about their place in life.
Yes, sir. I couldn't agree more. I couldn't agree more. Should check that out. Full episode at the Jeremy Boring Show, and that's Boreing. Boreing. But he's right. He's right. A lot of these far right, as they call it, whatever they're calling themselves now, really not sure. They're doing nothing but hurting things. They're not helping anything at all. They would literally, it looks like they would rather a Democrat socialist win than a conservative. So they've either lied to us through all these years as a quote conservative, or they're paid, which is probably the case in most cases, or they have mental health conditions, which modern progressivism, wokeism is a mental health condition, in my opinion. It functions as an ideological engine of manufactured despair. That's what they do. Manufactured despair. Unbelievable. Unreal. But so true. But so true. My God. It's just completely crazy. So, at the beginning of the show, we touched on this a bit. I'll find this clip because we touched on it. And it's so true that it's happening. So true that it's happening right here in the United States of America. The establishment Democrats are aligning themselves right now with socialist policies more than ever, calling to abolish the Electoral College and reform the Supreme Court. Yes. This is what's happening right now in the country, as David Harris talks about right here.
Allies are looking to make major changes to the Constitution and America's government if they manage to brainwash enough American people and actually win in November.
I think we need to revisit the efficacy of the Electoral College. I think we need to expand the Supreme Court and look at reforms.
You mentioned two ways that the Supreme Court could be overhauled. Could you expand on that? And are Democrats prepared to take action on that now?
In my view, dramatic Supreme Court reform is necessary.
Does that sound familiar? Abolishing the Electoral College, altering the Supreme Court, those are both platforms previously adopted by the Democratic Socialists of America and now going mainstream within the party. Friends, this is not the Democrat Party of JFK anymore. It is now being infiltrated by communists. Yes, I said it. And we will pay the price if we don't beat them in November. Both of these ideas are unpopular.
Yeah, if we don't beat them in November, we will all face these problems. Not just a few of us. Everyone. That's not right. It's not. And all these gotcha moments, that's all they care about, like this ridiculous Kristen Welker that does the far left Meet the Press show on Sunday mornings, trying to go after the Todd Blanche, of course, trying to get that gotcha moment against Trump. That's all they care about. They have nothing else.
Used to be President Trump's former personal defense attorney. Can you pledge that the Justice Department will always act independently of the White House?
Well,
there's a big difference between saying we will always do our job and investigate any case and act independently of the White House. No, I'm not going to pledge that. And no attorney general should ever pledge that. The president, I mean, if I were to pledge I will be independent of the White House, what that means is that if President Trump says, I want the Department of Justice to go after every violent criminal in this country, which is what he has said, what you're saying to me is I just say, no, sir, not going to do it. So I will act with integrity. Our prosecutors will act with integrity. We will prosecute without fear or any sort of favor. And that's exactly what we've been doing. And that's what every Department of Justice should do.
Well, I guess big picture, if the president asks you to do something that you feel crosses an ethical or legal line, would you do it?
The president will never ask me to do something unethical or legal or illegal. He never has, he never will. And no, I swore to the Constitution of the United States, like every cabinet secretary has done, and like every attorney general before me has done. And so this narrative that's mostly pushed by the left and pushed by the media, that the president's gonna pull me aside and ask me to do something illegal, is completely a false narrative, not true, will not happen, and hasn't happened.
They just can't help theirself. They can't help theirself. But what if Trump asked you to do something unethical? It's like a bunch of freaking dimwits, Nimrod robots. That's what it's like. Big Nimrod robot moments. That's what that is. I love the way he said, but Trump's not gonna ask me, so why would I have to worry about it? Because it's never gonna happen. Of course it's not. Of course it's not. They have nothing else. They don't have jack nothing. They've tried for over a decade now, by the way, and still have nothing. Numerous trials, numerous courtrooms, numerous bogus counts, over and over and over. And they can't stand it. They can't stand it. Cannot stand it. But hey, we're still here fighting every day. We're still here fighting for common sense every day. Freedom, though, is not free all the time. It is, but it isn't. Remember that. Just crazy. AOC has even been trying the softest that she can, even though she's a idiot, in my opinion, rebrand in history. After years of defunding the police, abolish prisons, pure radical nonsense, she now laughs it off with woke one was crazy. That's it. Yeah, no accountability, no ownership, just an LOL. Right. Meanwhile, she's out here campaigning for socialists who they didn't leave woke one, they advanced woke one to woke 5. They're just hoping people have a short memory, but we don't. We do not have a short memory. My name is Daryl Arnold. Thanks for tuning in as usual on this Monday, August 17th, 2026. And I'll be back. Thanks to all the sponsors, but most importantly, all you people who took the time to listen to this broadcast. You can find all episodes at DarylArnold.us and choose your favorite player. See ya.
Thank you all for tuning in. Hashtag unfiltered, hashtag unapologetic, America First Talk at its best, where we party the right way. See you next time, or else.